Dear devotees and friends, it is with great pleasure on behalf of the Temple Management Committee that we welcome you all today, and it is such a blessing for us to have Satguru Bodhinatha Veylanswami here again. The last time he came was 12 years ago, and we had our Hindu Youth Conference then as well. We were very blessed. We had just started building a shrine for Saint Yogaswami upstairs, and it was fortuitous, Satguru's wish, that he came at that particular time to be able to give the blessings and consecration as the beautiful picture that was given by the Himalayan Academy was sent to us and was ready for installation. Satguru Bodhinatha Veylanswami is the Guru Mahasannidham, spiritual head of Kauai Adinam, which is a beautiful traditional Saivite temple on the northmost island of Hawaii. Next to this very traditional temple lies a contemporary 21st century publishing house where monks with Macs work selflessly to produce a wide range of publications teaching Hinduism under the umbrella of the international organization Himalayan Academy. Uniquely, this is one of the few organizations which teaches Saivism, particularly Saiva Siddhanta, which originates from India and Sri Lanka. One of the most well-known publications from Himalayan Academy is the foremost international magazine, Hinduism Today. Satguru Bodhinatha Veylanswami is the 163rd spiritual preceptor of a holy and highly auspicious Guru lineage known as the Kailasa Parampara, through which many great souls have passed, including Sivaya Subramanya Swami, who has visited this temple when my father was alive, and Siva Yogaswami, also known as the great sage of Jaffna. Satguru Bodhinatha Swami speaks internationally and has an innovative style which relays the mystical teachings of Saivism in such a way that is so relevant to daily life, even daily life in a busy city such as London. Spiritual progress is made not only in seemingly spiritual life, but also, importantly, in our secular duties. And in this conference, Satguru will speak on this matter at length. Saivism remains poorly understood by many of our young and also the young at heart. And here it is currently not formally taught in English in London. This is why it is indeed a wonderful and highly blessed opportunity to hear the truths of our great religion from one who has walked the path ahead of us, an enlightened soul. Thank you.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Good morning, everyone. Is my voice loud enough? Yes. Okay, that's good. Appreciate you all coming out. It's a beautiful day. You're for going outside. Be here. Very good. Oh, our program is starting on time, which is 9:30. 9:30 to 10:30 is presentation, parts 1 through 4. Then we have 15-minute coffee tea break, and we come back. 10:45 to 11:45 is part 2, and then we have about 15 minutes for pre-submitted questions. So if you haven't submitted a question, please do so. Preference is given to non-personal questions. If someone wants to know if they're going to get married next year, wrong forum. Wrong forum. What's going to happen in the EU? Wrong forum. So we're striving for questions that would be of interest to the most people. something that's not too technical that most everybody here would enjoy hearing the answer to, because we only have about 15 minutes, so we don't want to just service the needs of someone that wants to know about some obscure aspect of Advaita Vedanta or something. Try for more general questions. So most of this material is pretty simple. Just a few parts are a little dense, and we'll get through those as quickly as possible, but they're there because we also have a workbook that we can study afterwards. So even though you may not understand it clearly on the first presentation, if you're interested, you'll be able to take it home and read it and think about it and gather it in that way. Part 1 is from 14 questions. You have 10 questions, which is the predecessor to 14 questions. So this booklet, either 10 questions or 14 questions, was created for a group of Hindu teens living in Chicago to give them the resource of official answers to questions they were commonly asked by their peers. And one of the interesting aspects of these 10 questions, or 14, is that the questions are still the same. They haven't evolved. They keep popping up. A new generation keeps getting asked the questions every year. So it's a very valuable resource. It doesn't go out of date. The 12th question is, how do Hindus view other religions? So this question is just in your workbook. It's not in the printed material. The answer is, Hindus honor all religious traditions and the people within them. While regarding our faith as uniquely endowed, we believe there is no exclusive path, no one way for all. In India, where Hindus are the overwhelming majority, the rights of minority religions have always been honored. Hindus have welcomed, embraced, and lived peacefully among other religions for centuries. During those same centuries, Hinduism itself evolved into hundreds of strains, and thus Hindus are fully at home with many different traditions and viewpoints within their own faith. Hence, they are naturally tolerant of other religions, respecting the fact that each has unique beliefs, practices, goals, and paths of attainment, and not objecting when the doctrines of one conflict with those of another. Hindus readily accept the idea that it is not necessary, desirable, or even possible for everyone to hold the same beliefs, and certainly such differences should never be cause for tension, criticism, intolerance, or violence. This is if you don't know who he is, he's the Nalai Kartar. Nalai Adinam is across from Nalur Temple. So the Swami on the right is the head of Nalai Adinam in Jaffna. And this is when the Pope visited Colombo. So he's honoring the Pope in the spirit of interreligious harmony. Hindus do not proselytize, meaning they do not try to convert members of other faiths to their own. Proselytizing is based upon the belief that one's religion is the only true religion and everyone else should join it. Hindus hold the view that all faiths are beneficial. A devout Hindu is supportive of all efforts that lead to a pure and virtuous life and will consider it unthinkable to dissuade a sincere devotee from his or her chosen faith. They know that good citizens and stable societies are created from groups of religious people in all nations. While encouraging others to follow their chosen path with dedication, Hindus hold Sanatana Dharma to be the fullest expression of religion and do accept sincere souls who seek entrance into Hinduism. When discussing other religions, Hindu leaders often quote a verse from the Rig Veda, Ekam Sat Vibra Bahuda Vadanti, meaning truth is one. Sages describe it variously. It conveys a core Hindu idea that there can be multiple valid viewpoints about the Supreme. Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, philosopher and former president of India, stressed this point. The Hindu recognizes one Supreme Spirit, though different names are given to it. In expressing religious tolerance, Hindus sometimes cite the above verse to assert that all religions are the same. In reality, all religions are not the same, nor is that indicated by this verse. It simply says that all religions revere the one truth. All believe in the one supreme being. Their beliefs and practices are different. Their paths are distinct. Instead of saying all religions are the same, it is better to state all religions are good. Hindus share values common to all faiths: piety, love of God, respect for tradition, a stress on duty, responsibility, and basic human virtues such as nonviolence, truthfulness, compassion, and charity. They know that good citizens and stable societies are created from groups of religious people in all nations. They also acknowledge and honor the many ways that religions differ. For example, meditation and yoga are commonly practiced in Eastern religions, but not usually in Western faiths. The heart of a religion is its understanding of the soul's relationship to God. Hinduism and most Eastern religions believe that, at the highest level, God and soul are one, inseparable, while Western faiths maintain that Creator and creation are eternally distinct. Hindus support and participate in ecumenical gatherings with other religions while upholding their own traditions. They confidently defend their faith, proceed contentedly with their practices, and avoid the enchantment of other ways, be they ancient or modern. So now we're going to the question in the booklet that's number 1. Why does Hinduism have so many gods? It can wear you out worshiping at a temple with so many gods. The US is worse than UK. In the US, I think this one temple had 30 shrines and was very proud of it. But the president of the temple, he had a very simple idea. He would just go to one place and prostrate. Call it good, instead of going to 30 places. So why does Hinduism have so many gods? The answer: Hindus all believe in one supreme God who created the universe. He is all-pervasive. He created many gods, highly advanced spiritual beings, to be his helpers. Contrary to prevailing misconceptions, Hindus all worship a one supreme being, though by different names. This is because the peoples of India with different languages and cultures have understood the Supreme Being in their own distinct way. Through history, there arose 4 principal Hindu denominations: Saivism, Shaktism, Vaishnavism, and Smartism, also known as Shanmatam. So that's a very important point. For understanding Saivism, we have to understand that it's one of 4 main denominations in Hinduism. Each of the 4 denominations has a different name and concept for the Supreme Being. For Shaivites, God is Shiva. For Shaktas, Goddess Shakti is supreme. For Vaishnavites, Lord Vishnu is God. For Smartas, all deities are reflections of the one God. In the Smarta denomination, the choice of deity is left to the devotee. 6 deities are commonly chosen from: Shiva, Shakti, Ganesha, Vishnu, Kumara, and Surya. This liberal Smarta Hindu perspective is well known, but is not the prevailing Hindu view. Due to this diversity, Hindus are profoundly tolerant of other religions, respecting the fact that each has its own pathway to the one God. A second source of confusion can be the fact that Hindus also believe in many gods who perform various functions. They are like executives in a large corporation. They should not be confused with the Supreme God. These divinities are highly advanced beings who have specific duties and powers, not unlike the heavenly spirits, overlords, or archangels revered in other faiths. Each denomination worships the Supreme God and its own pantheon or parivar of divine beings. Okay, we've got a review question. This is to keep you awake. From memory, name one of the 4 denominations of Hinduism and state which is the name of the Supreme Being. Who wants to name one? Yes.
Shaivism Shiva.
Yes, Saivism Shiva. Yes.
Vaishnavism Vishnu.
Right.
Shaktism is Shakti.
Yes. And the hard ones left.
Smartism, because it's left to the devotee's choice.
Yes, left to the devotee's choice. So choice is called Ishta. So in Smartism, the deity of choice is called Ishta Devata, the deity of choice. So you can choose. In the others, you don't get to choose. The second part of our presentation is entitled On the Nature of God Shiva. As we mentioned in the answer to the question, why does Hinduism have so many gods? The denomination of Hinduism that considers God Shiva to be the supreme being is called Shaivite Hinduism. It is also simply called Shaivism. The Tamil word is Saivam. The University of Madras Tamil Lexicon gives this definition: Saivam, the religion which regards Shiva as the supreme being and is exclusively devoted to his worship. So that's the official definition of Shaivism. It's an online lexicon in case you ever want a good resource, right online. For millenniums, Saivism has been strong in Tamil Nadu, but even more so among the Tamils of Sri Lanka. Evidence of this is found in the textbook for Hinduism used in Tamil schools in Sri Lanka. The title of the book is Saivaneri, which translates as Saivite religion. In other words, the other denominations of Hinduism are not even being taught. The focus is exclusively on Saivism. Grade 1, Lesson 3 is entitled Nam Saiva Samayaptavar, which translates as We Are Saivites. As the Sri Lankan diaspora, Tamil diaspora has spread, this has given birth to many beautiful temples in the West, such as the Shree Ghanapathy temple, where the priestly chants all originate from Shaiva liturgy. So if you're interested in the Saivaneri textbook, it's online. You go to Sri Lanka textbooks, Tamil, then you go down the list. You have to be able to read Tamil, of course. There's Saivaneri grades 1 through 12, I think. So all the Saivaneri textbooks, all the way that Saivism is taught in Sri Lanka is right there on the web. That's where I got this. This is a screenshot of Lesson 3 in grade 1. In this Shaivite denomination, God Shiva is the supreme being who, as the Lord of the universe, himself performs the actions of creation, preservation, and destruction. This, of course, is a totally different approach than the well-known Trinity approach found in the Puranas, the folk narratives containing ethical and cosmological teachings relative to gods, man, and the world. The Puranas definitely do present a concept of Hinduism as a religion with a trinity of gods, 3 separate beings: Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Rudra, Shiva, as a destroyer. However, in Shaivism, these cosmic actions are all performed by God Shiva. So a different view. Vaishnavism has the same view. Mahavishnu does it all. So the denominations don't follow the Puranic stories. In addition to the 3 actions, God Shiva also performs 2 more actions which relate specifically to the soul. The 4th action is his concealing grace, which limits consciousness, allowing souls to mature through experience. And the 5th action is his revealing grace, by which the soul ultimately transcends its bondage and realizes its identity with him. The renowned Sri Lankan Saivite scholar Arumuga Navalar makes this idea the fourth verse of his work, Saiva Vinavidai, Book 2. What are the activities of Lord Shiva? Who knows who Aramugha Navalar is? How widely known is he? Aramugha Navalar? Got a few. Yes, well, I should just say something because he's referenced. That's his statue there. He looks very traditional, huh? Staunch Saivite. There's I don't know exactly what it is, but in front of Nalur Temple, there's a facility there which has his name on it, Aramugha Navalar, something. So he wrote books on Saivism for children. They're called Saiva Vinavidai. Vinavidai is question and answers, or in English we say catechism. Saiva Vinavidai, book 1 or book 2. Are very good resources. And then he wrote more complicated ones for adults, which I haven't studied because they're not translated. So what are the activities of Lord Shiva? That's one of his first questions. His first question is, who is the Lord of the universe? And the answer is Shiva Peruman. And then the second one is, what are his activities? They are 5, namely creation, maintenance, destruction, veiling, and bestowal of grace. So we got 5 actions from God Shiva. Here is an analogy to help understand the actions of God Shiva's concealing and revealing grace. Imagine the growth of a lotus flower. Its seed starts in the pond's dark mud. Its roots give rise to a stem that reaches up through the water into the air. From the stem evolves a bud, tiny at first, which grows into a flower that slowly opens its exquisite petals to the sun, the central nectar and pollen, calling to the bees. The seed is the soul, and the sun is God Shiva. As a seed, the plant is unaware of the sun. Then through growth, it moves closer and closer to the surface and finally creates the bud, which when it blossoms symbolizes the experience of the soul of God Shiva. Similarly, a soul starts its existence unaware of God Shiva, and through experiences over many lifetimes matures and moves closer to God, eventually experiencing revealing grace. There is a form of God Shiva that is widely known, which depicts these 5 actions. It is Shiva as the Lord of Dance, Nataraja. In this murti, the symbolism for all 5 actions is clearly present. Shrishti, creation or emanation, is represented by his upper right hand and the damaru, the drum, upon which he beats paranada, the primal sound from which issue forth the rhythms and cycles of creation. Stipti, preservation, is represented by his lower right hand in a gesture of blessing, Abhayamurti, saying, fear not. Samhara, destruction, dissolution or absorption, is represented by the fire in his upper left hand, poised in Ardhachandra Mudra, half-moon gesture. Tirobhava, obscuring grace, the power which hides the truth, thereby permitting experience, growth, and eventual fulfillment, is represented by his right foot upon the prostrate person, Apasmara Purusha, the principle of ignorance, or anava. And the last one, Anugraha, revealing grace, which grants knowledge and severs the soul's bonds, is represented by Shiva's raised left foot and by his lower left hand, held in Gajahasta or elephant trunk mudra, inviting approach. To explain God Shiva to someone, you just have a picture or a murti of Nataraja and you just point to the 5 actions. It can be explained in a very nice way. Less well known to the general public, but quite well known to the Saivite priesthood and others who are knowledgeable about temple worship, is another form of God Shiva performing these 5 actions. It is a form of Shiva that has 5 faces and is called the Sada Shiva Murti. In Sanskrit, the 5 faces are referred to Panchanana, There we go. It's like Gajanana, elephant-faced. We all know Gajanana. This is Panchanana, five-faced. In Tamil, the five faces are referred to as Shiva Perumanai Aindu Tirumugan Hal, which translates as the five holy faces of God Shiva. In temple ceremonies based on the Saiva Agamas, there is a specific mantra used for each face. The first face, the mantra name is Ishana, and the divine power is revealment. So we're going to have a chanting exercise here. This is the Ishana chant. I'll chant the verse once and then you can all chant it back, okay? Om Om Ishanaya Anugraha Kritya Paraya Namaha. Om Om Ishanaya Anugraha Kritya Paraya Namaha. I'll do the next one slower. Second face, the mantra name is Tat Purusha, and the divine power is concealment. Om Hem Tat Purushaya Tiro Bhava Kritya Paraya Namaha. Om Hem Tat Purushaya Tiro Bhava Kritya Paraya Namaha. Very good. Third phase, the mantra name is Agora, and the divine power is disillusion. Om Hum Agoraya Samhara Kritya Paraya Namaha. Om Hum Agoraya Samhara Kritya Paraya Namaha. The fourth phase, the mantra name is Vamadeva, and the divine power is preservation. Om Him Vamadevaya Stiti Kritya Paraya Namaha. Om Him Vamadevaya Stiti Kritya Paraya Namaha. And the fifth phase, the mantra name is Sadyojata, and the divine power is creation. Om Ham Sadyojataya Shrishti Kritya Paraya Namaha. Om Ham Sajyo Jatai Srishti Kritya Paraya Namaha. In temple ceremonies based on the Saiva Agamas, it is this fivefold form of Shiva that is being worshipped in the Shiva Lingam. To show this, some temples include in their decorations a metal covering over the Shiva Lingam, which has the five faces engraved in it. The fifth face of Ishana can be placed on the top, but more commonly is left out. The Ishana form is implied whether the fifth head is shown or not. Some Shiva Lingas even have the faces carved into the linga itself. In many places throughout the puja, the mantra names are used in short chants. However, at key times, such as during the final arati, a longer chant is used. So you'll hear that during the final arati a lot. The Ishana Tapurusha Gauravammadeva Sajojita. So that it'll say Ishana, then there'll be a long chant. Tapurusha, a long chant. Vamadeva, a long chant. Like that. So if you hear that, you know it's an agamic puja. This is a traditional Shaiva puja when you hear those names. Even though the puja is being done to the Shiva Lingam, if you don't hear those names, it's not a Shaiva agamic puja, it's a puja. But an agamic puja always has these five names very dominant. Okay, we got a review question. Keep you on your toes, keep you awake. From memory, for each of the five actions of God Shiva, give the Sanskrit word for the action and the Pancha Brahma name. So I read the English, you give the action and the name. So I'll do the first one so it's clear what you're doing. So I would say creation, you want the Sanskrit action, Shrishti, and the name Sadyojata. So preservation, anybody remember preservation? Yes, and the Sanskrit? Shrishti Stikti. Shrishti Sthirti Samhara Tirobhava Anugraha. Destruction. Who remembers destruction? Sanskrit. Samhara, and the name, Agora. Veiling grace. That one's easier. Veiling grace. Tirodhana, and the name is, that somebody said it, Tapurusha. Revealing grace. Ishana, right. So, revealing grace, Anugraha, Ishana. So that's a bit hard, but I thought I'd challenge you, keep you awake. Okay, now we know, we've learned about religion and how religions are all good, but they're different. We've learned that in Hinduism there's four main denominations, one of which is Saivism. We've learned that in Shaivism, God Shiva is the supreme being. He does 5 things. Most popular form is Nataraja, but in the priesthood they use Sada Shiva, which is the 5-faced deity. Now we're moving on to philosophy. So some of this is a little challenging, and as I say, it's designed to be fully grasped when you read it afterwards. But not much of it is hard. There are 6 different schools of philosophy within Saivism. They are listed on the slide. They share a great deal of beliefs in common, but also differ in some areas. So I won't read them, but they're in the book, all listed. So Saivism has 6 philosophical schools, not just one. 6 main philosophical schools, each with its own sub-schools. The philosophical school of Saivism followed in South India and Sri Lanka is that of Saiva Siddhanta. So that's the only one we're looking at today. Saiva Siddhanta. And within Saiva Siddhanta, there's 2 primary living schools. So even within Saiva Siddhanta, there's some major differences. One is the pluralistic school of Mekandar, and the other is the monistic school of Tirumular. So we follow Tirumular's lineage, which is the teachings of Paramaguru Yogaswami. He likes to say in some of his songs, as well as the famous sage Tayumanavar, that we see no difference between Vedanta and Siddhanta, which is another way of saying it's a Siddhanta that's monistic. And we will explain that a little more later on. So, this is the best photo I could get. The 3 primary elements of Saiva Siddhanta philosophy are Pati, Pashu, and Pasha. Pati is God, envisioned as a cowherd. So cowherd means the person who herds the cows, even though it sounds like it's the herd of cows, right? But cowherd is the name for the person who herds the cows. And there's no cowherd in this picture because Google Images does not have a picture of a cowherd. So I'm out of luck. But it has good resolution. It shows it has very high definition cow sitting there. Pashu is the soul, envisioned as a cow, and that's Nandi. So, when we see the bull worshipping Shiva, it's not a bull, it's the soul. The soul is there 24 hours a day worshipping Shiva. That's the symbolism of Nandi. Nandi is the soul. Pasha is the tether, the rope, by which God Shiva brings souls along the path to truth. To grasp the nature of these 3 primary elements, we will look next at the 12 beliefs of Saivism. For ease in understanding the first 3 beliefs, we will look first at belief number 3, then belief number 2, and then number 1. Because actually it's easier to understand them going in that direction. Belief number 3, regarding God as personal Lord and Creator of all. Shiva's followers all believe that Lord Shiva is God, whose eminent nature is the primal soul, Supreme Mahadeva, Parameshvara, author of Vedas and Agamas, the creator, preserver, and destroyer of all that exists. As we have already presented details on this perfection in the previous section, we won't do so here. So that's what we've been talking about. Personal Lord, Ishvara, Parameshvara means the same thing, and as the 5 actions. So God is a person, we've already done. And that's what the next slide says. It says simply Parameshvara refers to God Shiva as a person. Paramaguru Yogaswami describes Parameshvara in a number of his Natchindanai songs. Here are quotes from 2 of them. O Lord of knowledge, who at Tillai danceth. Tillai is Chidambaram, in case anyone doesn't know. O Shiva, 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 who art that supreme. O Shiva of Tillai, who by thy gracious nature the 5 actions in the dance dost show through thy sweet holy form. Belief number 2, regarding God's manifest nature of all-pervading love. Shiva's followers all believe that Lord Shiva is God, whose eminent nature of love, Parashakti, is the substratum, primal substance, or pure consciousness flowing through all form, as energy, existence,